Curse podcast, the BlackCurse podcast, the Black Curse podcast, the BlackCurse podcast, the BlackCurse podcast, the BlackCurse podcast. Woo! BlackCurse podcast. Start time 121. BlackCurse podcast. It is July 17th, 1:21 a.m. This is the BlackCurse podcast, episode 6. Yeah, episode 6. Got like 4 topics I'm gonna talk about today. It's been a minute since I podcast. Okay, let me take my glasses off. So I think the first topic I want to talk about is reparations. I read this article on CNN. The fight for reparations has stalled in Congress. Here's what they look like in state and local governments. So, the topic starts off in Evanston, Illinois. Lewis Withers had a stable job and was married when he decided to buy a home in the Chicago suburb of Evanston in 1959. By high interest rates and white real estate agents who seemed adamant about keeping him and other black residents out of certain neighborhoods nearly discouraged him. More than six decades later, the 87-year-old received a payout to make up for the discriminatory housing practices that he and other black residents experienced between 1919 and 1969. After 3 years in the making, Evanston gave Weathers and 15 other black residents $25,000 each in May to put toward a down payment on a home, mortgages, or home repairs. Like Weathers, generations of black Americans have faced disparities in housing, transportation, and business in other areas. And as descendants of enslaved people, many say they have not been compensated for their labor and the lingering effects of systematic racism. Recent federal reparations efforts have stalled in Congress. Excuse me. But cities like Evanston are working to atone for the harms caused by slavery and institutional racism and address the racial wealth gap. Last week, Detroit City Council unanimously approved how it would structure the first reparation task force. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, the Amherst Town Council approved the creation of a fund to allocate a total of $2 million in reparations over the course of about a decade. The push for reparations has gained momentum on the heels of the national uprising in the aftermath of George Floyd's killing in 2020, which rekindled the Black Lives Matter movement. Kamala Moore of the California Reparation Task Force says she sees reparations as fulfilling the promises made to her ancestors in the mid-19th century for the abolition of slavery. The federal government now has the chance to live up to those commitments, she said. You can't talk about racial reckoning in this country without mentioning reparations, she said. Reparations are comprehensive enough to address all the ills that still impact the African American community. From cash payouts to issuing extensive reports and building a bureaucratic system to examine what reparations could look like. Here is what some local and state governments have done so far. Robin Rue Simmons, a former Evanston alderman who introduced the idea to the city in 2019, said the restorative housing reparation program was created to remedy some of the harm caused by the city's historical anti-black housing policies. When it was approved last year, it was considered the country's first reparations program. Since it was founded in 1860, the city created a system to segregate, limit, deny, and control black citizens who were denied equal access to many areas, including schooling and housing. In the early 20th century, real estate agents developed a practice of informal racial zoning, almost exclusively offering black residents housing on the city west side. According to a 2020 report commissioned by the city that details how the city perpetuated discriminatory practices toward black residents. The report also highlights that Evanston banks typically refuse mortgage loans to black residents seeking to buy homes in predominantly white neighborhoods. When the city's restorative housing reparation program opened online applications in September, officials received more than 600 applicants. In January, Weathers and 15 others were chosen at random from the first 122 applications submitted by eligible black residents. The program payments were funded by donations and money collected by the city from cannabis sales tax. Pardon me. Weathers said he was elated when he learned that he would receive a payout and decided it could help current and future generations of his family. Instead of using the money for himself, he transferred his payout to his 60-year-old son, Michael Weathers, to put forward toward his mortgage. It was a no-brainer, he said. And it goes on talking about just different things. My thoughts and opinions on that. Yeah, definitely, African Americans definitely need reparations in America. Racism is real. I don't like when they use institutionalized racism and systematic racism. I just simply see it as racism. It's all encompassing. It's all the same thing. I just don't like those terms. It takes away from what racism is and how racism is a power dynamic. I get like trying to, I guess you can say, making it systematic or showing it as a system. But what does that really mean? Racism is a system. Racism is a form of power and control simply by one group against another group, suppressing or oppressing another group. Therefore, I don't think we should call it systematic or institutionalized. It's the same shit. It's the same thing. But yeah, they definitely need some. I would like to hear more about these in other areas. The article also talks about California and what's another city? They mentioned Detroit. They talked a little bit briefly about Detroit. Excuse me. Yeah. So, yeah, African Americans definitely need reparations. It's super important, I think, in order for us to be compensated for the harm that was done in this country. And I think that we have to I think where they need to go is explaining in details what racism is, so people can be clarified on what it is and how it's being harmed. Because you have people that believe that African Americans can be racist. African Americans can be prejudiced. They can discriminate, but African Americans cannot be racist. We do not have the power as a group to oppress and suppress any group in America. I think that's good. And if you don't believe me, you can go look up Dr. Claude Anderson. It's a whole host of white and black academia people who can tell you why blacks cannot be racist. But we have to first define what racism is before we can even I can't even say before we get reparations, but I think racism need to be defined, because You don't want white people to come around and start saying they can get reparations because they're white in America. Because trust me, it would happen. Um, Therefore, I think we have to define what racism is, uh, so people can be very much on point. And for all the African Americans that believe that blacks can be racist, don't go apply for reparations, because obviously you don't understand or comprehend what racism is. So, uh, and what I mean by that is, if you feel like you can be racist, then that would mean that white people would need to be uh, compensated or reparated for their issues and problems they are going through in America, which is none. White people have their own problems and issues that they deal with internally or within the society, but as far as being reparated for racism, it would make absolutely no sense. But that's what I think on the situation. It's cool to hear. I mean, it's surprising to see it in America that reparations and that is even a talk that is even going through Congress. So we will see. I will keep you guys updated on exactly what's going on with reparations, and hopefully we all can be compensated for it. Yeah, that's what I think on it. My next topic is going to be Mexico captures an infamous drug lord who killed a DEA agent. Do you really want to hear about some gangster shit? Do you really want to hear about some gangster shit? Do you really want to hear about some gangster shit? Yeah, infamous drug lord Rafael Coro Cointero, who was behind the killing of a U.S. DEA agent in 1985, was captured Friday by Mexican forces nearly a decade after walking out of a Mexican prison and returning to drug trafficking. Coro was arrested after a search dog named Max found him hiding in brush in the town of San Simon in Sinaloa State during a joint operation by the Navy and Attorney General's office. A Navy statement said the site was in the mountains near Sinaloa's border with the northern border state of Chihuahua. Mexico National Arrest Registry listed the time of Coro's arrest as around midday. Yeah, so they arrested a drug lord in Mexico. He killed a DEA agent in 1985. I mean, that's really gangster. I mean, that's what gangster. That's what I think of when I think of a gangster, a real live gangster, not fraud and fraudulence, not one's playing gangster. I often think of gangsters as nobody gets a pass. You wrong, you cross cops, DEA agent, government officials, the whole whoever cross a mob or a gang, you're getting caught. I mean, you're getting killed. You're getting your family is getting harmed in some kind of way. That's what I think of a real gangster. That's what I think. That's what gangsterism is. I don't think gangsterism is showing any type of fear of law enforcement or anything like that. And by reading it, you can tell he had no fear of law enforcement. He killed a DEA agent in 1985, and he just now getting tried for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they were saying also like 10 years prior to that, he walked out of a Mexican court free after I think it was in 2013 or whatever. But he had killed the DEA agent in 1985. He had got caught up and was tried in court. He beat the case. He lived to be 60. This is gangster shit. This is what gangsters do. This is how gangsters operate. I just think it's interesting that, in our cultures, we don't comprehend that, or we don't see that, or we don't have those type of stories. We have stories of you either dead or you go to jail. But in this one, it's like he went to jail at 60, but at the end of the day, he didn't live his life. He didn't sold dope, killed DEA agents and killed a DEA agent and continue. Ain't no telling how many Mexican law enforcement people he killed. Just that's what a real gangster does. You know, this is what gangsterism is. I just think that uh, African Americans and them being gangsters or trying to be a gangster is not the same as other groups such as the mobs or the cartels. You know, I just think that they play by a different set of rules and a different set of laws and a different set of values. Um, Me, I would be laughing or be shocked if I saw an African American gang operate on that level. You know, so um, that's crazy. That's what I wanted to talk about because that's a gangster. You know, I wanted to show a gangster, and I also wanted to talk about. I wanted to read the articles to show people exactly that these are the type of things that are being discussed or written about, where it's real journalism or people writing about these things. Because some people don't really buy into these concepts or ideas or understanding of what's going on, and some of this stuff is real. Some of these people are real. There are actually real gangsters that kill law enforcement and don't care and get away with it for a very long time. They don't play no games. They don't, you know, they're not scared of cops. You know, they're shooting it out with cops. You know, they're doing whatever they got to do to be above the law. You know, saying pretty much fuck the law. You know, so I think it's interesting. Ooh. This is another article. I think it's pretty interesting. The Benjamin Button effect. Scientists can reverse aging in mice. The goal is to do the same for humans. Uh, Molecular biologist David Sinclair's lab at Harvard Medical School. Old mice are growing young again. Using proteins that can turn an adult cell into a stem cell, Sinclair and his team have reset aging cells in mice to earlier versions of themselves. In his team's first breakthrough, published in late 2020, old mice with poor eyesight and damaged retinas could suddenly see again with vision that at times rivaled their offsprings. This is David Sinclair. It's a permanent reset as far as we can tell, and we think it may be a universal process that could be applied across the body to reset our age, said Sinclair, who has spent the last 20 years studying ways to reverse the ravages of time. If we reverse aging, these diseases should not happen. We have the technology today to be able to go into your hundreds without worrying about getting cancer in your 70s, heart disease in your 80s, and Alzheimer's in your 90s. Sinclair told the audience that Life Itself, a health and wellness event presented in partnership with CNN. This is the world that is coming. It's literally a question of when, and for most of us, it's going to happen in our lifetime. His research shows you can change aging to make lives younger for longer. Now he wants to change the world and make aging a disease, said Whitney Casey, an investor who is partnering with Sinclair to create a do-it-yourself biological age test. Um, this goes on about, you know, studying, reversing age. This is the thing. I'm all for science and technology and guess you can say moving the world closer. I mean, moving the world further along in the process. Aging as a disease. I can't say aging is a disease. I think it's think aging is understandable. Just what life is. Um, Excuse me. I just think that in creating, I'm sorry. I just believe that God created us to age. You know, from the time we're zero to the time we die. I think that's the process of getting older, becoming much more wiser. Although it, I see aging, I see us getting old as the same as when you're a kid and you can't do much for yourself because you're a kid and you don't know much about the world. Um, you start how you finish. You started out not knowing much or not being able to care for yourself, and then you end not being able to care for yourself. The middle is where you kind of care for yourself, but I think aging is just pretty much what it is. It's aging. It's not much of a. I don't see it as a disease. As far as the study goes, I think it's cool. I think it's cool, but it's a possibility you may see in our lifetime that they come up with the solution to you know um, making people live longer, but at the end of the day, you gotta go. Human beings can try to extend your stay here, but as far as you know reality goes, it's a time, it's a cap, it's a cap on your life, it's a cap on your youth, on youthfulness. So I just see it as something that's just what it is. Just how I see it. But I would like to live to be older. I would like to see, I was talking to some guys at work the other day, and I was like, I would love to be here at 109. You know, I would love to be here at 110 and see how far the world has advanced and everything. And it's like, well, you can't do nothing. You can't do this or do that or whatever. And I was just like, I wouldn't even care. I would just like to be able to be old and sit at home and watch TV and see what the world is coming to. What is the world? What is going on in the world? What is the new thing? What is what does the music sound like if I was 109? What is our progression in going to space? What is our progression in economics? What is our progression in fact, who's owning the world? Who's what country is the power? You know what I mean? Being American, I think we as Americans have we believe that our country is going to always be this dominant power or force as we know it today. But as we see today, it's declining, and I would love to see at 109, 110 years old or whatever. Like, who's the new power? Who's the new face of power? What country is dominating the world? What country is dominating in technology? Everything has to come to an end. So I would love to be around to see that. I would love to see the transfer of power. I would love to see how these things go. I would love it. America may as well. Possibly maybe still be the dominant power. America may be a country with literally no whites. And when I say, I'm not saying it in the sense of I'm looking for that. I'm saying it in the sense of that whites are having a population problem in America. So me at 109 or 110 or whatever age I live to, or 100 years old. I would love to see what their world is. I would love to see how the world has changed. So yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, so that's my next topic. My last topic I want to talk about is sports. LeBron playing in the Drew League. I think he put up like 42 points, 60 rebounds, a couple assists or 5 assists or some shit like that. Um, yeah, I think he put up something like that. I think he put up like 42 points, 16 rebounds, and like 5 assists or something like that. But I like the Drew League. I like it for what it represents in today's time. Excuse me. For me growing up, what was it? Rucker Park. I feel like the Drew League is like the new Rucker Park. Back in the day, we had Rucker Park where it was based in New York, and during the summertime, the stars would come out and play, and the Rucker Park League. Uh, it had a, it had like the announcer was pretty much cool. Like it's very much hip hop influence. DJing, different things, different style, street ball at its finest. Those are the days that you miss. I miss. I like I like the concept or the idea of a league at a park in a predominantly black neighborhood, bringing out stars or the best of the best. NBA, street ballers, and they're competing in the summertime where kids can come out and watch. And it's also a great documentary that talks about Rucker Park and its years. But I believe the Drew League is kind of like our new age Rucker Park. So I think it's cool that LeBron James go and show his dominance and proves why he's in the NBA, and what separate the NBA players from the people that just think they're good, or I can't even say they think they're good. The people that's good, I tell people all the time, I think people don't give people that's in the NBA credit for being in the NBA. I think you have to be incredibly good or great at basketball to even to play at that level, So, and LeBron James showed it. He's an elite NBA player, and he scored 42 points easily in the Drew League. Playing against people to play overseas and this, that, and third. But it's a different ball game. It's levels to it. It's levels to the it's level to the NBA. It's just it's levels, and I think it's cool. I like to see that. I like to see that online. It's crazy how it's just changed. Like like even that it was people that was back in the day that we knew of Rucker Park, or we could never go see it, or they have it on ESPN. But now today it's the Drew League on YouTube. So the coverage being on YouTube, and it's not even like a live. Maybe it is a live coverage, but the coverage is, we have to see it as it's being filmed, and then we have to see the highlights on YouTube, and it's totally independent of the NBA or anything. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't really did a whole lot of research on the Drew League or how it was created, or how it was formed, but I think it's cool that NBA players participate in those environments, and I think it's cool. I think it's necessary. It's just a different time. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool that him being an elite player and just going out there and showing the world that, hey man, this is a different ball game. And LeBron James have always done that. That's one thing I can't respect about him. People hate him. I'm one of the people. I love LeBron. I like LeBron a lot. For him to be 18, come out of high school at 17, 18 years old, and have a damn near close to 20 something years in the NBA, or whatever year he's in, 17. He's been in the league for a while. So for him to have that type of career and still play at a very high level. And I think uh, that's inspirational. That's it says a lot about his character. It says a lot about his willpower. His it's a word that I'm looking for. His discipline. And that's one thing that I like about LeBron. He's just super disciplined in different aspects of outside of the game, outside of the game of basketball, and also on the court. So I like LeBron a lot. I just don't think he get a lot of credit for the the, the discipline. People always talk about he was 4-6 in the championship. All that. I still feel like he's still gonna be probably one of the greatest or the greatest of all time, because to get to the championship 10 times, that's not easy. That's not. That's a certain level of discipline for you to be that good to get to the championship every year. There's other factors that play into why you win or why you don't win. It's other great teams out there, great NBA players that are really good. And for you to get there 10 times, it's like, excuse me, that's pretty good. Everybody do they compare Jordan and him. I don't really like to compare. But one thing that I say, I feel like he played way more longer. He's played longer in the league than Jordan, which I think you have to give him credit for that as well. And when I say give him credit for that, meaning he has to the discipline it takes to play that long. Jordan, it's only a certain few players that can play that long in the league. That has to be examined. So yeah, man, I mess with LeBron. And I like the fact that he played in the Drew League. That's cool. But yeah, this is pretty short. This is a pretty short podcast. I'm just getting back into it. I've took a hiatus. Uh, had things just going on, things that sometimes you get stalled in your quest of trying to progress yourself and trying to go as far as you can. So yeah, that's what it's been. But back on, I'm finna get back to it. I'm finna become much more. The goal here is to become much more consistent. My goal is really focused on creating. Not a whole lot of promotions gonna be going on, but I want to be creating, just to get in the habit and the flow of just creating and constantly producing content and getting better at research and get better at presence, just getting better at podcasting and taking it a bit farther than where I've took it. I was previously with a podcast that I had founded, but I left it due to certain reasons. But I've created like 3 or 4 podcasts, and my goal is to take all the different things I learned from working with people in the different podcasts that I created, and to put all that energy and time and effort into the BlackCurse podcast, and to make it as good as possible, as great as it can, as great as I think it can, as great as I think my vision can be. You're gonna start seeing more guests. I'm gonna bring more guests on, just creating more content, doing different things. Also, I've started the BlackCurse Radio. I've created the BlackCurse Radio because I wanted to create content without having to do the lights, the cameras, and all that. Sometimes I get pretty lazy, and I just started BlackCurse Radio, where I can just literally be in the room playing video games and record content. So yeah, those are gonna be my two pieces of content that I'm going to constantly create, constantly put out there, to promote. So yeah, it's the BlackCurse podcast. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna start putting my cash up in there if you want to donate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't need your money now. Just playing, but yeah, just donate if you want to, because to do this, it requires money to grow it, to build it. If you're a fan of me, I know y'all have seen me on different things. Most of the content that I have on my my YouTube channel was created by me, was produced by me. You know, the concepts, the ideas, the different things. Also go check out just check out all my content. Check it out, look at it, see how far I've came. I'm gonna create more though. It's coming. I'm getting my feet slowly back up under me, so a lot of different things are gonna be coming. But yeah, I think I only did like 35 minutes. But yeah, this is cool. Oh yeah, I didn't do my album review, vinyl review. So I listened to. Usually I do this at the beginning of the show, but I'm gonna close it out. Before the show, I was listening to Herbie Hancock. Feet don't fail me now. It's pretty good, album. I like the cover art. It's really nice. It's just really interesting. Like, I just love creative artwork or just different artwork. Yeah, pretty good. The other vinyl I listened to was the London Chuck Berry section. I like Chuck Berry. I like him a lot. He's from St. Louis, so I like to support him. I love this cover art. This cover art's pretty dope. It's colorful, creative. Just I feel like the different colors give it the sounds that I feel like you hear in the music. It's just a difference. It's just cool. And then it was in London. That's pretty spectacular. Man, that must have been a cool thing just to be able to be an artist or a musician and get love and respect in a whole nother country. And they really just rock with you, That's cool. It's interesting. And then the last one is Archie Shep. Yes, Mina, a Black Woman. I kind of like this. I like the cover art. I mean, it's pretty simple cover art, but I like simple. I love that it has like a whole lot of, oh man, it has, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the, somebody wrote, this look like it's in French, but they have like a magazine article and the inside of the vinyl. And then it has a cool picture of him playing the saxophone, which I think is cool. It looks really just nice. Yeah. So, first Shep, Yasmina, a Black Woman. Yep, that's the BlackCurse podcast, man. Show is gonna become a little bit longer once again I get my feet up under me and create more research, more ideas, but just want to get back going, get some up so I can get back in the flow of things. So yeah, check us out. Once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Curse podcast, the BlackCurse 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 podcast. Woo! BlackCurse podcast.